How I uncovered my husband's biggest secret and lost my world. I always believed I knew my husband inside out. We'd been together for nearly a decade, married for half that time. I trusted him completely, naively perhaps. Our morning chats over coffee, cozy dinners, and endless dreams for the future felt like the foundation of a solid, unbreakable love. But it was all a mirage, one I shattered in a single evening, as fragile as a dropped wine glass. It happened on a Monday. I got home earlier than usual thanks to an unexpected day off from work. The house was quiet, almost too still. At first, I relished the calm, but then I noticed something odd. His phone was on the kitchen counter, screen glowing. I know it's foolish, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced at the notification. A message from an app I didn't recognize, from a woman I'd never heard of. The words were brief but cut like a knife. "Little one missed you so much today. I tried to stay quiet, but I can't anymore." At first, I brushed it off. Maybe it was a cousin or a friend's kid, but a sinking feeling told me otherwise. I unlocked the phone, and what I found was worse than I could have imagined. A chain of messages, far from innocent. Dates, photos, pictures of a toddler with his eyes, his smile, the one I thought was reserved just for me. I could barely breathe. My mind refused to accept it. "No, this is a mistake. It can't be," I whispered to myself, but each new image chipped away at my denial. My husband, the man I shared every moment with, had a child with someone else, and I had no clue. I sank to the kitchen floor, clutching the phone like it was both my tormentor and my only tether to the truth. My heart pounded so loudly I swore the neighbors could hear it. Tears came unbidden, as if everything I knew about our life had crumbled into lies. Then I heard footsteps. He was back from work. I scrambled to put the phone down and compose myself. His face wore its usual warm smile, betraying nothing. We exchanged routine pleasantries. "Hey, how was your day?" "Fine, you." I wanted to scream the question burning inside me. "Who is this child?" But I held back. For now. That night, I returned to the phone. Each message confirmed my worst fears. I dug deeper: dates, photos, gifts, secret meetups. It had been going on for years, right under my nose. With every discovery, my world collapsed further. I racked my brain for signs I'd missed. Late-night calls he'd step away to take, odd smiles while texting, vague work trips he never fully explained. It all clicked now, a carefully crafted facade. And that facade had finally cracked. By morning, I hadn't slept. My mind was flooded with betrayal lies, and the child I never knew existed. I felt gutted, my trust shattered, my future uncertain. I realized I'd have to face the truth head-on. But how? How do you ask a question that terrifies you? How do you hear the confession you dread? Sitting there with a cold cup of coffee, unable to let go of the phone, I knew one thing. My life would never be the same. The next day, work was a blur. Every move I made was haunted by what I'd seen on his phone. I tried to convince myself it was a misunderstanding, but my gut knew better. It had never steered me wrong. Back home, I grabbed his phone again, this time with purpose. I hunted for evidence to confirm my suspicions. Every message, every photo, every timestamp was a piece of a devastating puzzle. I noticed a pattern. Messages always came late at night when I was asleep. Those random calls he took in hushed tones when I entered the room now made chilling sense. He'd been hiding this for so long, and I'd been blind to it. I turned to social media. His friends, profiles, party photos, coffee shop meetups, and then I found it. A picture of him with a toddler in his arms, beaming. The child was his spitting image. Same eyes, same smile, same nose. I was suffocating in a mix of horror and rage. I thought back to the clues I'd overlooked. Weekend trips, flimsy excuses, gifts for coworkers, all part of an elaborate cover. The deeper I dug, the more I found. Birthday presents never mentioned, charges on his card, unexplained getaways. Each revelation deepened the betrayal. My hands shook as I held the phone. I dreaded him walking in, unsure if I could hide my emotions. But I needed the truth. I had to gather every shred of evidence to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. I took a risk and reached out to his friends. If someone tipped him off, it could backfire, but I needed an outside perspective to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. I started with a coworker he often lunched with, casually steering the conversation from work to personal matters. He was guarded, but eventually admitted he'd seen my husband with a young child a few times. He didn't pry because he knew it was a secret. That hit like a lightning bolt. I wasn't crazy, he was hiding a child. Next, I tracked down the woman I suspected he was involved with. Her name in the messages was vague, just a first name, but I found her social media through mutual connections. There she was, holding the same child. Each photo screamed, "This is real. This is your reality." I documented everything: screenshots, dates, photos, profile links. Each piece intensified the pain but gave me a sense of control. I was building a case for the conversation I couldn't avoid. But the deeper I went, the more questions piled up. Why had he hidden this child for so long? Why not tell me when we planned our future? And the worst, what was this child to him? Did he love them like he loved me, or was it just duty? One evening, a message broke me completely. It was from her. "He promised you'd never find out, but I can't keep quiet anymore. Our baby needs his dad." The secret he'd guarded so carefully was now exposed. I felt the ground slip away. I dreaded the confrontation, but knew delaying it would only prolong the agony. I decided, tomorrow I'd ask him directly. No games, no excuses. I spent the night gathering evidence and steeling myself for the truth. That night was the longest of my life. I lay in the dark, listening to my own breathing, bracing for what tomorrow would bring. One thing was clear: after this, our life would never be the same. The morning after I gathered my evidence, I felt like a ghost. My body moved, but every action took effort. I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee, its taste flat and lifeless. My mind was fixed on one thing: confronting him. When he walked in, his face was as calm as ever, oblivious to my knowledge. That terrified me, not just facing the truth, but seeing his attempt to hide what could no longer be concealed. I started calmly but firmly. "We need to talk." He raised an eyebrow, puzzled. "About what?" I paused, gathering strength, then exhaled. I know about the child." Shock flickered across his face, then despair. He tried a weak smile as if to brush it off, but it was forced, unfamiliar. I pressed on. "I saw the messages, the photos. I want the truth, all of it." He sat across from me, pale, hands trembling. He knew the game was up. Taking a deep breath, he said words I'll never forget. "Okay, it's true, I have a child. I should have told you, I just didn't know how." I stared at him, my heart torn between pain, anger, and betrayal. His words stabbed like a blade, but I couldn't stop. "Didn't know how? You hid this for years. Every holiday, every birthday, every moment, a lie." He looked down. "I was scared of losing you. I thought if you knew, you'd leave." Tears welled up, but I held them back. I needed answers. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice steady but quiet. "It's complicated," he faltered. "We weren't together long, but I feel responsible for the child, and I love him." Each word cut deeper. Love for the child, fine, but why hide it from me? Why was his secret more important than our life, our trust? "You love him, but not me," my voice shook. "I love you," he said softly. "But I didn't want to ruin our life, I was trying to protect us." Protect us? With a lie? I wanted to scream, to tear his words apart. But inside, I felt hollow. The betrayal mingled with the stark reality. I could no longer trust the man I'd shared everything with. We sat in silence for minutes, lost in our thoughts. I searched for words, but none came. My hands gripped the cup so tightly it creaked. I asked the question that mattered most. Why should I stay in this marriage when you built a whole life behind my back? He had no answer. His eyes glistened with tears, but nothing he said could soothe me. And then it hit me, there was no fixing this. His secret had destroyed us. I remembered every moment of doubt, every odd excuse, every late-night call. It all made sense now. The realization that I'd been deceived for years crushed me like a vice. "I need time to think," I said quietly but firmly. "I don't know if I can ever forgive this." He nodded, silent. I stood and walked to the bedroom, leaving him in the kitchen. My heart pounded so hard it echoed through the house. I locked the door and for the first time in days, let myself cry. Tears poured, washing away the remnants of my illusions. Our marriage was irreparably broken. The trust we'd built over years was gone forever. In that moment, I knew tough choices lay ahead. I could stay, try to forgive, and salvage our family despite the lies. Or I could leave, preserving my dignity and self-respect. But one thing was clear. My heart no longer fully belonged to him. It was mine again. And that realization sparked a tiny flicker of strength in the darkness. I decided that tomorrow, I'd start planning. A plan to navigate this disaster and maybe come out stronger. The days after his confession were the hardest of my life. I moved through the house like a shadow, every action heavy, every word painful. I tried talking to him, seeking some reason, some justification to hold on to. But his words, his love for the child, his fear of losing me, only deepened my hurt. The truth was brutal. Trust couldn't be rebuilt overnight. His secret had cracked the foundation of our family. Every corner of our home now reminded me of his double life. I started focusing on myself, my future, my mental health, my right to honesty and respect. I realized that no matter how many years we'd shared, this marriage could never be the same. I confided in close friends who supported me. Their tough questions forced me to face what I'd avoided. Could I live with this betrayal? Could I forgive? My thoughts kept circling back to the child. I couldn't hate them, they weren't to blame. I saw his responsibility as a father, but it was part of his hidden life, and now I was caught in someone else's drama. I needed space. For days, I dissected every moment of our marriage, every smile, every gesture of love. Could I forgive, or was leaving the only way to preserve my dignity? Then it hit me, love without trust isn't love. Even if I stayed, part of me would always be watching, doubting, checking. That wasn't a life, it was a prison of his secrets. I decided to leave. It was a choice filled with pain but also strength. I began planning where I'd live, how I'd tell my family, how I'd handle finances and legalities. Each step was a brick in the foundation of a new life. When I told him, he was stunned. He begged, explained, promised to fix everything. But I knew words couldn't restore trust. My eyes no longer fell for pretty promises. I loved you, I said, but love without trust isn't enough. I need to be honest with myself, I can't stay. His head bowed, words caught in his throat. I left the house feeling both empty and free. That first step was the hardest, but it was the start of a new life where I controlled my own heart and choices. Weeks later, I rented an apartment, rebuilt my routine, and rediscovered hobbies I'd set aside for marriage. The pain lingered but slowly turned into strength. Every day, I reminded myself, I deserve honesty and respect. Sometimes, I see photos of his child online. It stings, but I know it's not betrayal. It's a life separate from mine. I've learned to separate his love for the child from his betrayal of me. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes, loving means letting go, loving yourself and your life. Not every marriage survives betrayal, and not everyone can forgive a secret that shatters trust. I chose to protect my integrity. Looking back, I see the lessons. I've learned to trust my instincts, believe in myself, and face tough choices head-on. My life has changed forever, but I've rediscovered my strength. The pain was brutal, but it led me to a truth. I can be happy, even without him. And to anyone facing betrayal, sometimes the bravest step isn't forgiving, it's walking away to protect your heart.